Welcome to First Down by CoachTools, where you hear from successful coaches and the top minds in sports, with host Justin Tichenell. First Down is brought to you by CoachTools, the football player grading software that's better and faster. Today's guest is Nick York. For more content like this, be sure to like and subscribe.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate what you do for the coaching community and the coaching fraternity.
Coach York is the head football coach at Bishop Reicher Catholic School, which is in Waco, Texas. So that's right in between Dallas and Austin, for those of you not familiar. To get things started, Coach, can you just share with the audience a little bit about your career and how you've ultimately gotten involved in your current role?
Sure. Yeah. There's a long winding road to get where I've gotten. Just to start with, growing up, my dad was the head athletic trainer at Oklahoma State. So I've been around it my whole life. I've been around the athletic side of everything, and that's really all I've known is that lifestyle. Um, we moved down to whenever I was in high school. We moved down to East Texas to go to Gilmer, and which is a powerhouse program here in Texas. And so I got to learn from some amazing coaches that I played for. Jeff Traylor was my head coach. He's the current head coach at UTSA.
Wow.
Yeah, and the staff that he had was incredible. You can at the time, you hear their coaching and it's amazing detail, but you don't know as a teenager like how good of coaching you're getting.
Right.
And then I went on to college and I worked for the Oklahoma State football program. And we had tremendous coaches there. Coach Fedora was our offensive coordinator. Vance Bedford was the DC whenever I got there. Coach Gundy was in his second year when I started. So tremendous coaches there as well. But I'm seeing these coaches at Oklahoma State, and I'm like, these guys are fantastic, but there's not that big a difference. Like, if there's any difference at all from the coaches I had in high school, our coach is really that good everywhere. And so I was, as you mature and you learn things, you go, okay, I was very, very blessed to have the coaching that I had in school. But I got into coaching, and there was always this, there's always coaches saying, you want to be able to stay where you're at and grow where you're at. And, especially when I first got into coaching, there was a pretty negative perception of people that bounced around, and I didn't ever want to be that. It just happened that my family, we ended up bouncing around a little bit. But within that, I've been able to really be at some powerhouse programs and learn from some tremendous staffs, and really see, number one, what it takes to be successful at those places. And then, some other places as well, things that you might not necessarily want to do whenever you get the reins of a program yourself.
Definitely. And you mentioned the fact that and it was the Oklahoma State football program you were a part of.
Yes, sir.
So going back to those days, as a young coach, can you talk about some of the philosophies and maybe even strategies that you've learned from having that experience?
Oh man, so I was an equipment manager, which for those people in that world, like you are completely ate up with everything during that time. Like there's not time for a big social life outside of that. I think we had one guy that tried to join a fraternity, and it was like, nah, you don't have time for that, bud. So it was an amazing experience. Like I said, whenever I first got there, Coach Fedora was the offensive coordinator. And then during my time there, we also had Dana Holgerson was the offensive coordinator. And so, Graham Harrell came in with him to help install the offense that spring when he was quality control and kind of transitioning between Canadian football and the NFL. And then, I got to work with Joe Wickline. I was the equipment manager for the offensive line for several years, and just the details and the mindset that these people have, and just their work ethic every day. And whenever I was there, I knew that I was getting an experience that a lot of people don't get.
Right.
And so what I wanted to do, and I knew that that was only going to be while I was there in college. So I wanted to make the best out of it while I was there. So any chance that I had to do any of the outside activities, as far as our recruiting day visits that we had, where we were going and setting up display tables. Um, there was one summer I got to go along on the satellite camps where we had the coaches sleeper bus, and we were traveling, through when we first started this, we were traveling through Texas on a sleeper bus with the coaches, and I was in charge of the equipment for that trip.
Wow.
And so, getting to experience that, I think at that time, I was like, while I'm here, I'm going to try to do everything I can, because I want to be able to look back at this and know that, like, I got everything out of that experience that I could. And that staff at Oklahoma State, that equipment staff is known for putting out guys in the NFL as equipment managers. There's a lot of guys that I work with now that are head equipment managers at colleges all over the place, and doing very, very well. And so, that place, I was there for 5 years, and it just, they drilled into you the attention to detail in everything that we did.
Right.
I mean, it's, every Wednesday we're tearing apart every single helmet that we had, and wiping them down clean, making sure the hardware is good. Every Thursday we're bringing them back in, buffing them and polishing them, and putting on brand new decals every week. Like, there was not going to be room for any kind of error or anything like that. So it was a great start professionally for teaching you how to be detail oriented.
Yeah. And I think from my experience, what I found is that, being detail oriented leads to so many other things. If you're organized, you're going to know how to manage your schedule. You're going to know how to even communicate properly with people, because, and I think you mentioned this earlier, it all starts with your mindset. And if you have everything organized, like on paper,
Yes.
your mind is going to be better organized, and you're just going to feel better and have more clarity. So how have you used that? And can you give some specific examples, in your current role as a head coach? And I know you just stepped into it, but I guess, have there been any situations that you've used so far?
Absolutely. I think that has to be, obviously everybody has their pillars and the culture. But to be successful, I think that's kind of your backbone. Is you have to be detail oriented. You have to be able to not focus on, you don't focus on trying to win a state championship. You don't focus on trying to win district. You can set those things as goals, as if you want holistically, but the focus is, how do I win the day? How do I set up a practice plan to where we are the most efficient that we can possibly be? And within that practice plan, how does that correlate to what we're trying to do this week? And
Right.
so, and having it set up to where the practice flows correctly, as offensive coordinator, how do we get this practice to flow correctly, where all the moving pieces and parts are where they need to be on the field, where they need to be with equipment, where, if I've got one group over here in this area, maybe on this field over here, I need to be able to understand that my next deal, they're going to transition over here onto the field where we're at. So I need to have time. We need to communicate. And so within those details, that communication with your coaches is just paramount. Not assuming that anybody is going to be thinking what you're thinking. And so you
Right.
can cut out so many problems and so many issues if you will just communicate every detail possible. So everybody's on the same page, everybody's speaking the same language. And you don't want to ever, obviously, you don't ever want to assume anything for the kids and their knowledge. But you can fix a lot of things by not assuming anything with the coaches either. And you can say coaching the coaches, but really it's just having basic communication skills.
Right. And that's interesting. You said the last part, it's not just coaching. Like, having that process over outcome mindset is something that I think applies to any walk of life, Like, for example, as when I was an athlete, I played Division III football at Gettysburg College in Pennsylvania. And then from there, I got into coaching a little bit for a youth league. And then I'm also working on CoachTools, which is my startup. And just having that mindset that, hey, I'm not gonna make a huge difference on day one, but
Right.
you have to know, like, by doing things like these podcasts, by continuously, working to improve my craft, just like coaches out there do, that's what's going to lead you to your goals. And it's not about, you can't walk in there saying like, hey, I'm going to be a head coach day one for the
Right.
young guys that are watching. So,
Yeah.
and for you, I know we were talking about it, like it took you about like 10 years to get to your role. So,
Yeah.
no.
So what I did, like I said, I kind of bounced around a little bit, but I got to be part of some major programs and learn from some coaches that were amazing. And so I just kind of kept, there might have been times where I was ambitious and felt like I might be ready, but you can look back and go, I wasn't ready at that point for any kind of role like that. And so, I can look back and go, learning from this particular coach about how he does this helps me where I'm at now. And I know going into this role as a head coach at Reicher, there's going to be things that I'm going to have to cut my teeth on and learn on the go.
Right.
But what I would try to do during my time with these great coaches is um, I would just kind of keep notes in my phone on things that they would do or that we would do as a program that I really thought were good things and that fit with things that I want to do or things that fit my style.
Right.
And I would also keep notes in my phone of things that I might see that I don't necessarily see eye to eye with, or I want to go that route and doing that, and just to kind of make sure, steer clear of this if this was a bad situation or if this didn't have the outcome, or if something happened and I said, if I thought this could be handled this way, just having notes in my phone so at that time whenever I'm ready, I can remember back to that and have that list compiled. I got a touch lamp here that keeps going on and off like it's possessed.
Oh, you're good. And that goes back to just the detail oriented and being organized.
Mhm.
Um, so we're kind of coming up here on time, coach. Any last words you want to share with the audience today?
Oh man, I think know your why for sure. Whenever I got to Gilmer and I played for those coaches, I had been in Stillwater and I'd been in Tulsa, and coming down to East Texas was a little bit of a culture shock for me. And I had a lot of coaches that I saw them helping transform the lives of my teammates. And so that was something very new for me, seeing them take, guys that might be in rough situations or might not have a father figure in their life, and being able to help mold them and put them on the right path. And so for me, that was like, there was no question, like, that's what I want to do with my life. Like, these guys
Right.
are helping people tremendously. That's what I want to do. So, whatever, know your why, and, you know, um, whatever role you have, attack that role and be the very best you can be in that role. Whatever it is, whenever you have your coaches meeting at the beginning of the year, whatever communication that is, study as much on that, communicate with the coaches that are helping mentor you, and try to be the very best that you can be at that role. Um, I think that would be the advice. We had some younger coaches I worked with a couple of years ago that they would come to me on the weekend and say, I'm brand new into this. Like, whenever you're breaking down film, what are you looking at? And they would pull up their chair and we'd go through stuff. And we had another guy that was, I don't know that he ever played football. He was a big baseball guy, and he was like, I want to help. So what can I do? And I was,
Right.
man, if you could make this cut up for us, and I would show him like exactly what we're looking for. I said, if you can make this cut up whenever we get scout film, that would help tremendously. And then he took so much pride in helping with that and being part of that, you know, um, that helped that chemistry within the offense, within the office.
For sure. Well, thank you again for sharing, Coach. It was awesome talking with you, and best of luck this offseason as you kick off your first year.